This is something that could be massive. Now you're looking at something game-changing. Let me just say it another way. Gold will continue to move higher, and in my lifetime.
So you've seen gold climbing, maybe even thought about cashing in, but wait, what if the run isn't over yet? Could this just be a pause before the next big jump? Andy Schectman's here to help you figure out whether to sell, sit tight, or stack more. Let's dive in.
What it will do is very quickly leave the West out in the cold. And so this is something that could be massive. So yes, the BRICS are growing, but their community, their ability to trade with one another has now massively expanded into all of the other countries that are aligned with the BRICS, but haven't become members of the BRICS. This is a big deal, a very, very big deal, because the trade that will be done over the bridge will be completely invisible to the Western prying eyes. They won't know where all the money went. They won't know how much of the digital yuan was used to purchase oil from Saudi Arabia, who then will settle imbalances in gold. So there were no dollars exchanged and nothing traded over SWIFT. It is a way for de-dollarization to accelerate exponentially, I guess is what I'm kind of getting at, and leaves the Fed more, or the United States government, almost impotent in the respect that they won't even know what they're getting angry at, because they don't know how much trade was done. The way they measure it is by measuring what goes through the SWIFT channels. Since it's not going through the SWIFT, which was the only game in town, now you're looking at something game-changing. I would think absolutely you would, because you would see the dollar fall, and so everything relative to the dollar would rise. Everything. Things don't just, the values are not calculated arbitrarily, Surfer. They are calculated in the lens of the currency you look at them in. Dollar that would then be forsaken would be dumped globally instead of accumulated globally, which is the crux of of Triffin's dilemma. If everyone dumped dollars, now all of a sudden the dollar is weak, and anything that is valued in terms of dollars is strong. Let's look at it the other way. The consequence of having this dilemma that we've had of constant inflation. Well, let me just say it another way. Gold will continue to move higher, and in my lifetime, look, when Nixon closed the gold window in 1971, gold was $35 an ounce. 2-3 weeks ago, it hit $3,500 an ounce. What does that tell you? That the dollar lost 100% of its value against gold in my lifetime in 54 years. 100% of it. Now it's backed off a little bit at 2,300 or 3,300, 3302. We're back up to 3,300. So it's less. It's 99+% of its value has been lost in one generation, and it's continuing to lose value. So I don't know. It's one of these deals where I think when you measure things in dollar terms, because of a strong dollar, or because that in terms of gold, the dollar has been relatively strong, it's masked. You look at almost every currency on the planet, and even silver is at all-time highs against almost every currency, and it's nowhere near its all-time high here, because the dollar has been irrationally strong as a byproduct of being the world reserve currency. If it were, when I started in this industry and was learning about economics, a country with 100% debt to GDP was a banana republic. I used to joke last couple of years and say, well, at least we have free and fair elections, right? But because that was the hallmark of a banana republic, a country in South America that had corrupt elections and 105% debt to GDP. Well, that was us. That is us. So the point of it is that, you take the world reserve status away, as he's, basically Vance is saying, being the world reserve currency is a bigger detriment than it is a benefit because of Triffin's dilemma. Well, you take that away and we don't have the ability to, print all of this money and paper things over, then, what is our credit rating? What is anyone's credit rating if if their indebtedness is 200% of their assets. And it just, it's crazy. And their income only allows you to get a fraction of the way paying down just the servicing of that debt. The Congressional Budget Office says by 2031, every bit of income tax will go just to pay interest on the debt and mandatory entitlement, which are off-balance sheet obligations of Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid. And so that means everything else is discretional, borrowed, including the $1 trillion we're spending this year on military, borrowed. Who wants to borrow us that money? Who wants to buy those treasuries to finance it? Well, evidently the Federal Reserve does. And that's one of the reasons you've seen the stablecoin market be tied to treasury market. It's when you want to get deep into the conspiracy weeds, well, why does Tether's balance sheet, why is it 99% basically, treasuries, and USDC owned by Goldman Sachs, I think, and the new Ripple Labs, they're all backed by treasuries. What does that do? It stabilizes the treasury market when the rest of the world says we don't want them anymore. That's not even enough. Now the Fed has to come in and buy some. That's how far down the line we have gone in terms of indebtedness. And we expect the world to soak up our debt, to take our treasuries, and we're broke and we're insolvent, and we go around the world telling people what to do. Doesn't work. And that's the point. Through all of this, my question to all of you is, could he have come to the realization that this game doesn't last anymore and we have to reset the system? So let's bring back all of this gold. The May contract, this May COMEX contract, so far has been the largest delivery into the COMEX market in the history of the COMEX at over 16,000 contracts. That's 1.6 million ounces of gold in the month of May have been delivered at least. That was a few days ago. That's $5.3 billion. The largest delivery also in the May contract, at last I looked last week, 13,581 contracts of silver, also a new time high. So 13,000, sorry, I got the hiccups. 13,581 times 5,000 is 67,905,000 ounces of silver were delivered to the COMEX in the May contract. That's just in May. We've become net importers of gold since November. So if you want to reset the system, start over, let everything blow up, stocks, bonds, real estate, the banks, everything, because of Operation Sandman, because we've incentivized the world through sanctions, through fiscal irresponsibility and brain-dead monetary policy, to no longer take the treasury or the dollar. What you can see net, according to Luke Roman, net, since 2014, not one new central bank purchase of treasuries. Yes, they're buying them, but more selling than buying them. Who's buying them? Oh yeah, our other drunk buddy, the UK, who's broken and insolvent as well. But China's selling. They were at almost $2 trillion worth. They're at 750 billion now. They're selling. Japan is threatening to sell it all as their bond market is blowing up, the same as ours. Their bond rates are going through the roof. They're blowing up. And it's the yen carry trade where you can borrow in next to nothing yen at low interest rates in the cheap yen and turn around and invest in things in the United States like stocks or bonds that are yielding more than you're paying to borrow. And that's part of the reason you've seen stuff go to the moon. Well, if the yen interest rates are going parabolic and the Bank of Japan is no longer suppressing rates by buying all the bonds and they're just trying to normalize, you're going to blow up the yen carry trade. Watch what happens then. People say, well, Japan doesn't mean shit to me. What do I care? You will care when all of the assets that these folks own in terms of $1 trillion in treasuries and all the stocks that they bought, Apple, Nvidia, and all that stuff get sold. You'll understand why we should care about Japan. This is all coming to a head at once. But my point is, does Trump understand this? And does he know that, well, we have 200 trillion in debt. A trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. We can't pay this shit back. Not a chance in hell. We don't even have any manufacturing anymore. We got to bring it back. But how do we bring it back when the reason we sent it there is because it's half the cost? And we don't even have the ability to do it. Well, so fine. You want to bring it back. You're going to have massive increase in costs. So empty shelves, because it's going to take a while to have the capacity to build it and to distribute it. Wall Street's going to collapse and their profits are going to crumble and they're going to massive layoffs. You're talking the Great Depression. That's the tube of shit that we have to crawl through somehow, some way. So instead of doing it slowly, maybe they're trying to entice an Operation Sandman where everyone dumps it like that and everything collapses and Trump comes on and says, listen, we all have children and grandchildren. We want them to have opportunities that we once had. And if we continue down this path, that won't happen. The rest of the world has said to us, they no longer want to carry our treasuries and our dollars. They have done this to us. And fortunately, we had the insight to bring back all of this gold. And we are going to close our borders. We're going to bring back manufacturing. We're going to become a country focused on ourselves rather than a globalized policeman of the world. And we're going to build our infrastructure, bring our manufacturing back, and give our children and our grandchildren a future they can be excited about. People will sign on to that. That's this nationalistic, patriotic deal. And now you have a villain to point to. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I'm not saying that's what his motivation is, but I'm saying, could it be? Could he realize that there's only two ways out of this? Inflate, continue to have the Fed buy our treasuries, which leads to Weimar Republic Germany, or default the way other nations have, because we just got in over our head. Well,
If this video gave you something to think about, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button, subscribe for more eye-opening insights, and turn on the bell so you never miss what's coming next.